Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Hold one, Andre.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Oh my God!
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two, on bar.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Dummy.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
Hold three, Lamas covered. Three-handle family Gradunzel.
Mamma mia!
And now, Unchained.media presents the B Plus Podcast with your host, Greg Unchained.
It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Number 4, Armbar.
I will never retire!
I still got 200 more. I got 200 more holes to list.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the B Plus Podcast. I am your host, Greg Unchained. Today is Wednesday, so you know what that means. I tricked you. It's a bait and switch. You don't really know what it means because this is a bonus episode. Normally today we would sit down and talk New Japan with Big Boy Mikey, but the G1 is over and the next New Japan show isn't until the 5th of September, so there's not a whole lot to talk about this week with New Japan. We're going to roll that into the news show on Sunday, so if you're interested in New Japan and you're tuning in today for that, you're in the wrong place. But please stick around because we're going to talk about some local stuff. Bonus episode today, joined by Lyle from On the Turnbuckle. How are you, Lyle?
I'm going not too bad, mate. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm very good. I'm very good. I'm nice and rested and refreshed and ready to go. We're going to talk Melbourne City Wrestling 100 that took place this last weekend.
Oh, amazing show, mate. The atmosphere was good. Look, all reports 1,200 fans, which is amazing.
I've got to think that's got to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Australian wrestling show, focusing, of course, on Australian wrestling.
It's got to be right up there. Not especially in more recent years.
Yeah,
it's got to be up there. I know PWA, look, with the Progress show, they may have touched near those numbers at the Star Casino, but that's a cross promotion sort of thing, so they can drag more fans. But yeah, this is just MCW with, obviously we had a big guest in the main event.
Yeah. But
yeah, it was just a really fun night and just a really good venue in Albert Park there, the MSAC. Yeah, I'm more than happy if they run there again on another big show.
Yeah, well, even just following along on Twitter and Facebook and what have you, a lot of people flew in for the show. Like, it wasn't, I mean, it was a big deal. Like, obviously, it's Tetsuya Naito's first time in Australia, so that's going to be a draw card, obviously. But I don't feel like that was the only reason. I feel like people are flying in to see Melbourne City Wrestling because it's Melbourne City Wrestling. There was a lot of buzz coming off 99, and then going into 100, the card was solid. There was not a match on the card that didn't look on paper like it could potentially be a match of the night.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I was sitting with a few friends, and obviously Tony and Jay from the podcast, and when they were just going through the matches before we kicked off, they had them all up on the big screen, and it was literally every match could have main evented any other kind of month, MCW. It was just like, the tag match, it had big repercussions, obviously. And I think just the caveat of obviously having Will Ospreay on there, it's going to be a match of the year candidate for Australian wrestling, let alone the world. And then having Naito in the main event, I think you still would have drawn 1,000 people without those guys, because I think the feeling I got with people who were sitting around us and the buzz on Twitter and all that, it was MCW 100 was the main draw.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to see Jonah Rock, and Naito in the main event, but I think just the atmosphere and being part of like the event was more the draw card. Well, for mine personally, like, you can't always say I've been the MCW 100. I think people are going to look back fondly on the whole event more than just any single match.
Right, like in the current Australian wrestling revolution, this being the 100th event of one of the best companies in the country that really stacks up there against anything else in the wrestling world, it's a historic moment in and of itself, and that was kind of the main draw card.
Yeah, definitely. Like MCW, I'm probably a bit biased. Obviously, it's my local promotion, but they just listen to what their fans want, and having Will Ospreay, obviously he's a champion of Australian pro wrestling, and he wants more eyes on our local product and our local talent. I just think that takes our performers up. They want to reach his level, and his last 4 or 5 matches, in Australia, his Australian opponents, they haven't looked out of place. They haven't looked lower than him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's obviously brought them up to his level, but they've risen their game, which, hopefully, obviously he's leaving now. They've got to be the benchmark. The Lockie Hendricks, you go back 18 months with Slex, he's on a tear. If he's on a card, you're probably not gonna outwork his match in the last 18 months. He's been phenomenal. But when these guys do leave, it's up to our local talent. Well, okay, if you're wrestling another local guy, you got to bring them up to that new level that you've set. That's it. And that's just going to grow the scene. So, which is, it's phenomenal. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what the whole Mick Moretti's hashtag, the You're Gonna Notice Us, was talking about. We do have world-class talent here, and it's time for people to realize it. And I love that just today, yesterday, he's launched an evolution of that campaign. He's like, all right, people are noticing now. So hashtag now we conquer, right? And I think that having those sorts of things at the forefront as well, these hashtags, everyone jump on these hashtags, man. Hashtag now we conquer, hashtag you're going to notice us, because Australian wrestling is world class. And that's the message. Australian wrestling is world class, and we can hang with the best of them, and we can beat the best of them as well. So it's fantastic to see, and Melbourne City Wrestling are right at the forefront of that. So let's jump in and take a look at the card. The show kicked off, according to what I have here in the notes. Obviously, you were there, so you're going to know more than me. But the show kicked off with Crackerjack interrupting the general intro that Andy Coyne would do, and demands a spot on the show. How did that play out?
Massive pop. Everyone's a Crackerjack fan.
Well, he's an Australian wrestling legend.
Yeah, he is a legend, as he told us all on the night. And he called his Legends contract in the play, and he demanded a spot on the show, and he called out Jay and Chris Fresh and all the guys from the back, and there's a bit of byplay with Andy Coyne, which was very fun. That eventually, obviously, he's not allowed to wrestle, so he wanted to steal Andy Coyne's job, which is very funny. They played that really well. So they turned it into a 3-man booth, which was it'd be actually interesting once hopefully it gets uploaded onto Encore later this week. And that commentary and that dynamic, obviously Crackerjack can talk. He had his promo, he had the crowd in the palm of his hands. He's so passionate in everything he delivers, so it's just good to have him back on the show in any way.
I'm very much looking forward to hearing the Mad Bastard on commentary. I think it's going to be a good time. I watch all the shows, obviously, on demand, being in Adelaide. I wasn't able to get out. I wish I could have gotten out for the 100th show. I bought a Powerball ticket the night before, specifically, because I'm like, if this will work, I can use my savings and I can go.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't work out for me. I'm not a millionaire. You would have heard by now, but no, it's I watch on demand, and they have gotten very good at uploading these shows very quickly. So everything's there now. The Wrestle Rock back catalogue, the MCW back catalogue are all on Encore on demand. You can get it on Vimeo. You can get it on Pivot Share. I will drop a link in the show notes. That's how I watch the shows. And yeah, when I heard that Crackerjack ended up on commentary, I was very excited. I'm like, this is going to be a really good show, because that adds a whole new element as well. And then we got the first match, which was Brat Pack and the Prehistoric Death Cult in a Stone Age street fight.
Yeah, we actually were talking about it like in the stands before. Like, what is this going to be? Is it going to be like rocks and boulders, and someone going to come out with a big club? And it was just your typical street fight, obviously, with a little bit of that prehistoric stuff. They brought out the barbed wire bone and
Right.
stuff like that, and
Yep.
there was a couple of big rocks and boulders that came into the match. I thought it was really fun. You had obviously the Brat Pack always squeaking out a victory somehow.
Yeah.
And, I would have liked to see Sid and Ugg tag longer, but obviously, with the result, him turning on each other, I think they can actually have some really fun singles matches against each other, which can obviously go into all different kinds of stipulation matches and stuff like that, which I think they can get a few months out of.
Definitely. On the pre-show that I did with your co-host Brent, he was talking about his hope that would happen, that they would turn on each other so that they could have a singles feud. I know Sid Parker is one of his favorite guys to watch, and Caveman Ugg is one of my favorite guys to watch, so I'm very excited for this as well. I would have liked to see them stay a tag team for a bit longer too, but I'm very excited for the possibilities that are in play now.
Yes.
I think these two can have some absolutely brutal matchups, and it's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, it's going to be totally different, which is what you want on an overall card. They bring something totally different, and if they're going to be in some one-on-one matches, I think they can actually steal a few shows because, on paper you look at Caveman Ugg and think, oh, what's this gimmick? He's a really solid worker. He knows his character, and obviously we all know Sid. He's one of the best workers in Australia, and his character work is second to none at the minute.
Yeah, and that's what Brent was saying. As soon as he comes through the curtain, he is the Jurassic Punk Sid Parker, and he stays that way until he goes back. And he's one of the best character guys in the country. And, of course, Erica Reed plays into things as well.
Well, yeah, they all have they all play their part. Like, and you got Avery in there as well, which is, can't understate her valuable role in the Brat Pack. It's not, it's not a twosome. It's that threesome, that core. Both teams, with their 3-person dynamic. I don't think it works as well if one of them was missing.
Yeah.
So and obviously, Erica getting involved in the finish. Obviously, Sid has to come to her aid, which we get the turn, which was it was good. It was actually good. Like Brent, he did. He was hoping for that, so we all had it all in the back of our mind that it may play out that way at the end. So I wasn't disappointed when it did happen because obviously, like I said earlier, their matches are going to be great.
Absolutely. Now, the Brat Pack, we've got to talk about this quickly. They changed their music. No more Nickelback.
The only time I ever really want to hear Nickelback ever in my life is on an MCW show when the Brat Pack come out.
Right,
when,
yeah.
When that Figure You Out comes on, it's instant heat. No one likes Nickelback.
Yeah.
And if you like Nickelback, you can't say you like them, so you have to boo the Brat Pack instantly. But they haven't just come out with a generic. They've come out with their own custom theme, which, the guys from MCW, obviously, now that they're getting more shares and more eyes on them, they probably have to go a little bit more of their custom themes, so they don't, licensing and stuff like that, obviously. And they're pretty sure it was the Frio Dockers theme, and they had their own vocals and lyrics.
Their own lyrics to it. Yeah, like a little, a unique take on it.
Yeah, and it was actually good. It was cheesy in a heel, awesome way. So it works. For the Brat Pack, it works.
I'm curious to hear it because I've seen like a 20-second clip that someone posted on Instagram, I think it was, and I couldn't really gather much from that. But I just the Nickelback was iconic, so I'm a little worried, to be honest with you. But I'm curious to see how it plays on the air.
Yeah, well, as soon as the first note hit and we all realised, hang on, it's not Nickelback, we were worried.
Yeah.
But don't worry, 10, 15 seconds into the song, it works for the Brat Pack.
All right. I'm keen to see it. I'm very keen to see it. So Lockie Hendricks and TD, a bit of a grudge match that these guys have because of they used to be a tag team, and TD was out for a while, and Lockie has become the lover boy, obviously with his whole program with Crackerjack. He's a different man now, and he wants to leave TD in the past. So how did this one? Was it as intensely personal as the build-up would make it seem like it would be?
Yeah, I think this one for the live crowd and experience, I think TD and the intensity of the match lost a little bit because, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure TD's been out for 18 months, maybe 2 years. So a lot of, there's 1,200 people there. I know myself personally, I've never seen TD other than the last couple of months where he's done run-ins and stuff like that. So I didn't know, I wasn't invested in their tag team back a couple of years ago. So I think that got lost on the crowd a little bit of, yes, it is a grudge feud and stuff like that. Yeah, they did have the vignettes leading up before the match, which was good. It highlighted, their tag team championship together, but it felt like I felt like I wasn't a part of it because I wasn't there back in the day. And yeah, so the crowd wasn't fully invested. Soon as Loverboy comes out, he is instantly a star. He owns that character. He's, if he's going to walk down the street with that pink hair, good on him. But TD, I think he just lost a little bit. Maybe he needed to be on a few more shows just to get the crowd, get a few wins under his belt, like, hey, I'm back. So it did. I don't think it came across as much as they would have liked it, or how they would have liked it to come out.
So that's one of the problems that you'll have when you're growing a fan base, right? Because over the last year and 2 years, as you said, the MCW fan base has grown rapidly, right? So you're going from the point where there's a couple of hundred people at shows to now we have 1,200 people at this show. And not all of them, obviously, are going to be the same 200 or so people that were at the shows back when TD was and Lockie Hendricks were teaming. So I think the video packages do come into play there. I've seen some of the ones that they had on Facebook and everything, and they're very helpful. So, that's kind of all you can do to build the heat with the newer fans. The match itself ended with a handful of tights on a roll-up. So I imagine there's going to be more to come.
It was. Yeah, I think so. And I hope so. For TD's sake, I think he needs to be, like, obviously, Lockie Hendricks has moved up the card a little bit and his star has risen. So hopefully TD can get a rub that way and drag. Their work was fine. The match was really good. There's a couple of shaky spots there, but the fundamentals were there. There was a couple of really good high spots. TD, from what I've seen of him, he's actually a pretty good worker. And obviously, they've got a lot of history together, so they gelled well together. It was a fun match. It was. Yeah, just like I said earlier, it lacked that intensity of what you feel a grudge match should be,
especially for the new fan. Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah,
I can understand that. Moving on, we had B. Priestley and Indy Hartwell and Avery in a triple threat for the Defiant Women's Championship. I think it was pretty safe to say going in that B. Priestley was going to walk out still the champion, but there was always the off chance.
Well, yeah, of course. Obviously, we know she's probably not going to lose the belt, but that little bit of, or maybe Indy 4 belts, that kind of thing, because obviously Indy, she's taken over the Australian scene. Her heel work is amazing. As soon as she steps through that ring, you can't even cheer her unless you're Brent. Obviously, he's her favorite. She's his favorite wrestler. But yeah, she doesn't get many cheers when she's wrestling. Avery has improved amazingly in the last few months. Yes, she held her own being in the ring with those two women. I thought it was a really good match. It was. They went back and forth. The typical. One person drops out of the ring, two people wrestle. They couldn't, but then they had a few three-way spots, which was good. It was a good match, and the ending was pretty much what we expected of be winning.
Definitely. You talk about Indy and Avery both having come a very long way. Bea Priestley has improved a lot as well. I mean, she's only been wrestling for a few years herself, and her time over in Stardom has seen massive improvements. A lot of our girls go over to work with Rise or with Shimmer in America. I would love to see some of our girls head over to Stardom. Avery specifically, I think, would really fit in over in Stardom. So if anyone from Stardom is listening, book some of our Aussie girls, man, because we've got some girls who can go and could really benefit from the touring and the training and stuff that Stardom do.
Yeah, I think that it speeds up the process. That's what it looks like. I've seen B wrestle a few times last year, and even just from last year to now, it's a total 180. And so I feel, if some of our female wrestlers can get over there for maybe a month or 2 month tour and the training, like you said, it's just going to rapidly increase their experience, tenfold, which is only going to be better for us when they come.
Yeah, that's it.
Home.
It'd be really good to see, and it would help the scene. It helps it grow. So I'm looking for more of our. I mean, it's happening a lot. We've got Robbie goes over to PWG now. You got Jonah as well. Adam Brooks obviously is based out in the UK. We're getting a lot of this people leaving and then coming back with all that extra experience, all that wealth of knowledge that they can share with everyone else, and it just lifts everyone up. So it's really good to see. It's, like you said, it's a great time to be an Australian fan. Then we got the match that to me looks the most interesting on paper, the 6-pack challenge.
Yeah, this was interesting. During the match and before the match, it was a little bit of a cluster because it did seem like it was just, we haven't got a story or we don't have a match for these guys. Let's throw them all together because it is MCW 100, get them on the card. But there was some byplay in there, the little things I think MCW does well. Obviously, 6-man, so everyone's taking a tumble out of the ring, and then Stevie and Eagles backing up against each other. They run into each other, turn around slowly for the crowd, get the crowd hot. Like, hey, because everyone wants to see Eagles versus Stevie. That's a main event. That's a main event anywhere in Australia at the minute, especially with what Stevie did last month. And then they almost didn't even touch because the other guys came in and broke it up. And it was amazing. It was amazing. Just that tease of, MCW letting us know, don't worry, we're going to get this match eventually at the perfect time when it's going to be one-on-one.
It's like when you see someone like a Shinsuke and an AJ face off in the Royal Rumble.
Perfect example.
And then they don't get much action, but there's something there and the company knows that we want it. And so we got a similar thing here with Stevie and Robbie.
Yeah, exactly that. And it had this slow turn. I really want to watch it on the demand to see the final cut of it, the vision of them turning slowly and the crowd erupting. And then just before they're about to, obviously, it could be a couple of big high spots here, just gets broken up. It's a perfect tease.
That sounds awesome. And obviously, so the match had Tome Philippe in it as well, Mike Burr, Bad Luck Fale was there, JXT. I imagine there was all sorts of high spots. I saw pictures of people upside down and heading towards the outside of the ring, so definitely looks like a very exciting match. Ultimately, Tome Philippe keeps his undefeated streak, and he now has a title shot of his choice.
Yeah, he stole the pin from Robbie Eagles. It was good. I like, his heel work is really good. Sticks with his heel work, stealing the pin. Even better, he can go forward, claiming that undefeated streak, which I was a little bit worried about that someone else would win the match, and then he's going to come out with that awkwardness of, well, I didn't get pinned on
still undefeated. Yeah,
undefeated, which is a grey area, but it's pro wrestling. we can look around that. But he did win, so he is still undefeated, which is good. I do want to touch on Mike Burr. I hope it comes across well when we get to watch it later. He come out with his son, like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, on his shoulders. Amazing visual. Amazing. I'm a massive Mike Burr fan. He's a hard-nosed veteran. He, bash and crash. He's going to rip your head off with a lariat.
He's one of the hardest hitting guys in Australia.
He's no fuss. 100%, And he come out and then just, he's handed his son off to someone. Son gives him a little fist bump. I just thought that was a really really beautiful moment just before the match kicked off.
Yeah, I didn't even know that happened. I'm keen to see that now.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think if you go on Twitter, I think Mike Burr, he did the screenshot
Right.
of himself and Ricky the Dragon. He's put it in the same collage. Just little things like that. I think we're getting better at, or the Australian product is getting better at. Just little things like that. I thought that was just a really nice
creating
moment.
moments, right? I mean, people make fun of the WWE because they're like, oh, we put smiles on faces and we create moments. But at the end of the day, really, you do need to do that. And it's great to see our local companies stepping up to the plate and being like, look, we're going to create some moments too. And I think that's where MCW is head and shoulders above the rest. Yeah,
definitely. And the little bit of the byplay during the week on Twitter with Burr and JXT, was it a work shoot? Was it a shoot? Saying, critiquing each other's work, which is, they're getting into that weird territory.
I love when it goes there.
And then, it's good. Is it? We're not sure. Which I want to know, but I don't want to know. JXT's a friend of our show, but I try not to delve into that. I still want to be a wrestling fan. I don't want to be behind the curtain. So, and it played into it well. They hit each other hard. They chopped each other really hard. JXT took a nasty bump from Philippe coming off the top rope. Went a little bit askew, and it got him in the leg. I'm actually not 100% sure. He's either a phenomenal worker or he really got a really bad corky in the leg, because he was selling it amazing.
Right, I'll have to keep an eye out for that one. Now, Tom Philippe with the win means he gets a shot at any title he chooses. Where do we think he goes? Does he go for the Intercommonwealth with Slex? Does he go after Gino Gambino? Maybe he enlists his brother. I don't think that's going to happen. And they go for the tag titles. What do you think? What's your prediction?
Well, with him being a heel and Gino obviously doing phenomenal work as a heel at the minute, I really don't see that heel dynamic for the heavyweight, and might be a bit too soon for Tone to jump to the main event, if you want to say, of the heavyweight. I think Slex could work a really good match, and both of those guys they would gel together. So I hope if he can take the belt, interesting, undefeated, gets a few wins up, and they just tease us until obviously Stevie takes. I feel Stevie's going to beat his brother in his first loss. If they're going to keep this undefeated streak intact, the only other versus brother for the Intercontinental title, and Stevie dethrones his brother, giving him his first loss. I think that dynamic
I like that.
would
For a
work.
bit of fantasy booking, I think that's pretty solid. I can get behind that
Yes.
for sure, definitely. Moving on, we had the Fun Time Open Challenge.
This on paper, it doesn't read well. It seems like, it's a bit cheesy. This is one of the best moments of the night. The way, obviously Helter Skelter comes out, and the lead up to it, Phil, they played his music 3 or 4 times. He didn't want to come out because every time he comes out, he gets murdered.
So for those listening that aren't aware, Funtime Phil plays a bit of a comedy character, and he has been doing this open challenge for a while now, but he just can't seem to get the win. So.
Yeah, he just gets beaten up. So he was a bit scared. He played that well. The crowd is right behind him, almost more than it has any right to be, but he's such a fun character. It works. Then Helter Skelter's music comes out. Jay Andrews, his name is escaping
Jake,
me.
I never know how to pronounce it. Jake Andrewartha?
That's right. Yeah, he comes out. I see Alan comes out. There's a little bit of play there. Funtime Phil's worried. Then Alan and Jake get into it a little bit. Funtime Phil gets the sneaky roll-up win, and it's probably the loudest pop of the night until then. The crowd is absolutely over the moon. You've got Camby and you got Porco and Lindo there. and they pick him up like he's Mick Foley has just won the title on Monday Night Raw, and they championed him around the ring, and it was a really good moment. So he finally got a win.
Absolutely,
So
and he shares a bit of a smooch.
Yeah, and then the crowd, as wrestling fans can do, they chanted one more time. They went out another one. So yeah, good on the fans. Well done.
So yeah, I mean, look, I predicted this. I said if you listen to the pre-show with Brent, I said I think it's time. I think it's time for Phil. He's feeling good. Apparently, I underestimated how he was feeling because he didn't want to come out to the ring. But I'm like, he's hot off a date. He's ready to go. This is the time. This is the time for him to win. I'm really happy for Phil. I think watching it, even knowing it's going to happen, I'm pretty sure watching it, I'm going to pop. It's very exciting. I can't wait to see that one. And then this one shocked me because this happens before intermission. Gino Gambino and Dowie James for the heavyweight championship first blood match, and it's before the intermission. It's not even to close the show. What happened there, do you think? How was the general reaction in the crowd that this match was happening so early in the night?
I feel it definitely caught me off guard because straight after the fun time thing, I'm like, oh, this is going to be intermission. Andy Coyne's coming to the ring. He starts talking about the upcoming match, and I was out and I'm getting a drink, and I was, there's bad luck Foley. I'm going to go get a photo, have a chat with him. I'm like, hang on, I can hear Dowie's music. What's going on here? This doesn't make sense. I run out there. Gino's already in the ring. They're about to start the match, so I just made it back. From the way the ending of the match, where Gino and Sebastian took the ring apart, took the top rope off, and used the hook of the turnbuckle, I think it had to be, because obviously you probably can't main event, when you got the other guys that are in the main event on the card. So I think they did it at intermission, so they had that intermission to actually put the ring back together, because they got all the side mats from ringside. They've lifted all those up to expose the hardwood floor. So I think it was going to be chaos in the ring, and to do that after intermission and then quickly go into the next match, it would have probably been too much time. So I think that's why they squeezed it in before intermission, because it was a long time until we got to intermission. But it was a really good match. Gino's heel work is great. He's totally unlockable. Dowie James is a superhuman being. The crowd right behind him. And obviously, first blood match, it's always, I feel it's a bit of an anticlimax because it's, most of the time the heel's going to get blood, the ref's not going to see it, which they did. Sebastian used the towel, covered it up, and then obviously you wake the ref up, Dowie's got blood. Well, he sees that first. So it was a good story, great in-ring work. So, no, it was good. And then, so the finish, Lockie came out with, grabbed the heavyweight title belt and hit Dowie, which helped Gino get the win. So, be interesting to see where Dowie and Lockie go going forward.
Right, so it was Lockie that actually busted Dowie open.
I'm pretty sure that's where either the belt shot or Gino may have followed up with the turnbuckle hook a few times. From where I was sitting, I couldn't actually see when the blood started, but that's when just all that byplay, and that's when the ref got woken up. I'm
curious to see what Loverboy's problem with Dowie is going to be.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I think they can have some really good matches and some fun with Lockie's character and Dowie being that, like I said, that superhuman being. The dynamic there. The matches are going to be great. The work is going to be great, but I'm really interested to see the creative side of it, and I think it'll be really good. Yeah,
to see what story it is that they're going to tell. That's what I'm most curious about. And then I think as well, depending on how it plays out, Brent and I did talk about Lockie going to the top with a bullet, right? He's a fantastic worker, a fantastic character. Everything is just gelling right now, and it looks like he's on a quick rise. And so to see him paired up with Dowie makes a lot of sense. I'm really interested to see where it goes. And then you could even, you talked briefly about the heel-heel dynamic of a Tome versus a Gino. If Gino is still the champion by the time the Dowie James program ends, I could see a Loverboy versus Gino versus heel sort of dynamic working a lot better, because you can have you're only the champion still because I helped you be the champion still.
Yeah, that's right. And I think I don't think anything is done by accident in MCW. Their booking and their little drips of creativity on everything. I think it comes out eventually. And yeah, you're right that belt shot. And yeah, he's going to claim, well, the only reason you've still got it is because of me. And he'll probably carry that for the next 3 or 4 shows, saying the same thing. So yeah, it just gives Lockie Hendricks another element to his character, and he can push himself into that heavyweight scene.
Absolutely. So then, intermission. Did you catch any wild wrestlers in the throughout the arena?
Yeah, we went and had a chat to Robbie Eagles, just to say thanks for coming on the podcast last week. A couple of high fives from JXT, Tony Shebeki. Him and JXT had a bit of a mark out moment together, which was real fun. We got that on camera. Jay went out and he got a couple of 2 sweets off Bad Luck, which was great. Yeah, it was a really good.
One of the best things about
things
about the local shows, in my opinion, is the intermingling of wrestlers and fans, and how willing they are to come out and meet people and shake hands and take photos and do all that good stuff that really helps people feel like they're a part of this community and a part of this family that are doing this together. And I think that's really important. And I think that it's something that our local shows do really well. And, of course, upholding the tradition of the intermission raffle. Very Australian. Very happy to see that. I've seen that sentiment echoed across Twitter and everything as well, that it's good to see that no matter how big you get, you don't forget that you got to have a raffle.
Yeah, I like that about MCW do it. I'm pretty sure BCW still does it, and most local shows that I go to, they do
Riot
it.
City down here.
Good. Yeah, you got some coins. You got some coins in your pocket. You send the kids or $5, get 3 tickets. You might win a signed poster. It's really
Riot City
fun.
Wrestling do it here too. Sometimes it's like DVDs and things, and then you've got. I think at one point I bought like $50 worth of raffle tickets to try to get a ticket to try to get front row tickets to World Series Wrestling. And I realized at the end, I was like, I probably could have just bought 1 ticket for myself. I mean, they were giving away 2, so it was still a wise investment, but I didn't win, as is tradition. But
that's the investment game, mate. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Moving on, after intermission, we come back with Kellyanne and Madison Eagles. Now, again, looking at the card, I was a little upset that this was the post-intermission match, because I'm like, sometimes the crowd takes a while to warm up again, and just up in Sydney at PWA, after intermission, we had Madison Eagles and Shazza McKenzie after the intermission, and it was the crowd felt, when I watch it back on PWA Play, the crowd didn't feel as into it as I was personally, and so I know that kind of, because obviously when you're watching it on demand, there's no intermission, you're just watching the show, and there's another match and then another match, and you're excited for this match just as you were, but being at the show, everything's a little different. How were the crowd for Kellyanne and Madison?
Yeah, I think you might be right. I didn't even take that into account after the intermission. It definitely, in my notes, I've got it here, it lacks something. And I did see on a couple of reports or Twitter that it may have lacked that the actual story was dragged out too long. Because obviously, Madison Eagles was sending down her PWA wrestlers to wrestle Kellyanne. Kellyanne sent them with their bags packing for months and months and months. And then when the fight or the wrestling match was meant to happen, Madison Eagles got hurt. And right when it was, meant to have the payoff, it didn't happen. It was good that they got to wrestle on MCW 100, but I feel because it did get dragged out, the story got dragged out a bit too far. It wasn't as hot as it was a few months ago.
Right, so just lost a little bit of the heat,
yeah,
just because of circumstances.
A little bit of that. And you may be right, it might be the little bit of the intermission there as well, but it's still a good match, and I'm really looking forward to watching it on demand to see. Maybe I was missing something. Maybe the crowd were a little bit tired, or they've just needed a little bit of time to wake up after intermission, because everything they did in the ring was phenomenal. Yeah, these are two of the best in Australia, so I really want to rewatch it so I can look at it a little bit differently.
Yeah, definitely. So Kellyanne manages to get the win. She's run the gauntlet now, and she's defeated Madison Eagles. So it's a good win for Kellyanne right before Madison heads off to do King of Trios over in America.
Yes, yeah. So it's almost getting redundant, getting excited about all these Aussies going abroad to wrestle. It's just going to be second nature in a couple of months, I think. I don't think we'll be, they're not on any local cards. Oh, yeah, they're overseas.
Yeah,
right
someone
now.
else is gone. Someone else is gone. Hashtag now we conquer.
That's the one.
So Slex and Will Ospreay up next. I've seen a lot of people. Dan Leonard in his reviews always help me get ready for these shows that I'm not at when I want to recap. So shout out to Dan Leonard. He called it the best match he'd seen since last week. So
I think I've seen that somewhere. That popped me. That was really good. Well, hey, we've been spoiled with having Will Ospreay in the country for the last few weeks. Anytime he's on a card, obviously, he doesn't phone it in.
No.
He wants, and when he says, the first time I seen him, and he, and it was, I want to help grow the Australian scene. I was like, that's just you feel like you have to say that on a promo.
Yeah, it's a thing that people say, but they never actually mean. They're just here for the paycheck. Yeah, we've heard it before. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. He totally believes it, and the matches. He's the guy that he goes into a promotion or he comes into a country, he leaves that scene better than when he first came in, and I think that's going to be the mark of his greatness just in Australian wrestling. Forget the, yes, the matches are 4 stars, 5, whatever your rating system is going to be. His legacy in this country is going to be he's left that scene better every time he's come back, and our local talent's better for it, and as fans, we're better for it. So, we're the lucky ones. Slex, like I touched on earlier, his last 18 months, he's in a match of the night consistently.
Yeah.
And this...
He's definitely one of our best.
Easily one of our best. And, he just looks like a star. He walks out, he's got the glasses on, he's got the leather jacket, that music. He owns his character. He's a star as soon as he walks out.
Well, this is the interesting thing. This is the interesting thing about Slex, and I put Elliot Sexton as well up here, and Mick Moretti. These guys are people that, for a long time in Australian wrestling, it's isolated, right? The Melbourne people know Melbourne people, the Sydney people know Sydney people, Adelaide people know Adelaide people. I had the benefit of I've bounced between Sydney and Adelaide for quite a few years, and so I know both of those. But I was never really too familiar with the Melbourne boys until a bit more recently, when on-demand stuff became more of a thing. But when they came over for shows, whether it be the occasional one-off show with Riot City, or when we got World Series Wrestling and they're on the card, or the New Japan card and they're on the show there, they come out and they automatically, the crowd are like, boo, this guy's from Melbourne, right?
Yeah.
It's a natural instinct. It's not a guy we know, and he's taking up one of the local spots. Boo! So, but they always get the people impressed and on side, and that's the mark of a great worker, right? To come out into an unknown area and win people over. And that's something that I credit Slex with. I think Slex is brilliant at that. Everywhere he goes, he wins people over.
Yeah, straight away. Yeah, like I said, as soon as he walks through that
superstar,
curtain, everyone knows. If you've never seen him before, this guy, he hasn't even stepped foot in the ring. He's a star. He knows he's a star. So, in turn, we should know he's a star. And same, you touched on Elliot Sexton. It is criminal that he doesn't have a contract to one of the big companies. Yeah. It is criminal. Look, and maybe if he, 10 years ago, Vince McMahon would have taken one look at that body. Sign him up. Sign him up. It is different now with, but his work is great.
Yeah.
And his character is so funny. I'm not sure if you've seen his YouTube
Yeah.
TV show.
I forget what it's
He's
called, but yeah.
Trophy
Life, that's the one. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Amazing concept. He took the ball, he ran with it, got himself over. And I just feel, it's criminal. I know he's probably, he did the Progress shows while they did their US tour, which is good. I really hope there's bigger things for him because he deserves to be on national TV in one of the big companies.
Yeah, I mentioned those two, Slex and Elliot Sexton. I mentioned those two because I feel like they quite often get left out of the conversation when we talk about Australia's best because you quite often, it gets dominated by Robbie and Jonah and Brooksy because they're I call them the PWG3, and I feel like they quite often will dominate the conversation, and Slex and the ones that I like to throw in are Slex, Elliot Sexton, and Mick Moretti. Those three to me are the three unsung that really need to be brought up a little more. But we'll get back to the match. How was the match itself? I imagine it was an instant classic.
Instant match of the year candidate on paper before the bell rang and after the bell rang. Match of the year candidate all the way through. Amazing. Want to rewatch this as soon as it goes online. This is the first match I'll be rewatching. Just so I can get the different camera views. No, they left it all in the ring, and what testament to Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
That's what he does every time he steps in there.
I'm very much looking forward to it, and of course, Will Ospreay picked up some wins in the first month that he was here because he's been here for over a month now at this point. And he was picking up some wins, and then of course on the back end of the tour, as he's leaving the territory, he took the two big losses, one against Robbie, one against Slex. What an amazing talent this guy is. And like you said, a testament to his attitude towards the business, towards our local scene. It really seems like he comes in here and he's like, I'm going to work the territory for a bit, I get my heat, and then I pass that on. I go out on my back, head back to what else I have to do, and I'll be back in a year or two to see you again. And I love it, and I think big thanks to Will Ospreay for everything he's doing for our local guys and for Australian wrestling.
Yeah, I don't think we can thank him enough. And the next tour he comes through, it's going to be the next crop coming through that he's going to get a chance to work with and elevate their game. And obviously Slex and Robbie and these kind of guys, they don't need a Will Ospreay by the time he comes back. They'll be in their own matches. They'll be main eventing their own shows. So he'll be doing the next crop. So it'll be interesting to see when he does come back, whether it's in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, maybe a year. We know he's going to come back. He loves the country. He loves the fans. The fans love him for what he's doing. He did say in the lead up to it, I'm going to take that belt and I'm going to walk down the entranceway to Tokyo Dome with the MCW, which would have been amazing as a fan. But I'm really happy Slex won.
Yeah, rule number 1, man. Baby faces shouldn't guarantee wins. Unless you win it, don't guarantee the win. But no, definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing that match as well. Then, of course, the main event, Tetsuya Naito and Jonah Rock. How did that one go?
This one, I wasn't too sure if, Naito coming off the G1, is he going to be in a bit of a lull? Easy to just come into the country, fly in, fly out, fill up your pockets. He dropped himself on his head, which is always cringeworthy the way he does it. Me. He's doing that in Melbourne, which sort of blows my mind. He definitely didn't take the night off. This was hard hitting. This was physical. He wanted to have, he had to follow Will Ospreay and Slex, so maybe that was a bit of more motivation for him. And Jonah Rock, he hit so hard, played that big monster. It was amazing. This match was amazing. Obviously, we all want to watch it. We all want to see it. But, yeah, really thankful that Naito come in with that really good attitude of, I'm not having a night off here.
Yeah, well, he's the kind of guy that
and-
does that. I mean, even when you watch they did the Twitch show with Kenny Omega over with CEO Gaming in Las Vegas.
Yep.
And I think he was one of the guys that was on it. But I remember the guys in the main event, and it was neck bumps galore, and it was intense and brutal, and it was not a night off. And yeah, Naito's one of those guys where I don't think he would ever go out there, and I think there could be 20 people there, and he'd still be like, all right, let's go out there and absolutely destroy this place. From what I've seen, it seems that way anyway.
Yeah, it was amazing. Look, we had a few people with us that have never seen him before, and they were like, "How is this going to be the main event? Look at the match we just seen, Slex and Ospreay. How is this going to be?" I said, "Just wait till this guy comes out. He'll be in a full suit. Instantly, you can see the charisma. There's no wasted facials with this guy. Everything has a reason, it has its purpose." Just watch him closely. If he does something, it means something, and he can draw the fans in, and he's not even doing anything. He just gives that slight nod or that little wink of the face. He's captivating. His charisma is awe-inspiring, really.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, he has it.
He has it in spades, and he just oozes. Like, even when he's standing there, Jonah Rock, obviously, he's playing the monster. He wants to get at him. Naito's like, sitting back, like, relax. I'm going to take my suit off. And it's a full suit. He's just sitting there, taking it off, and it's just building the building of the match. Yeah, he's amazing.
I love that gimmick.
Obviously,
and I loved when Jericho wouldn't let him take it off too. The suit thing's fantastic. The whole character.
Yeah.
But did it live up to the match before it? That's the big question I have. And the question I'm looking forward to finding out when I watch it is whether... Because I know both of these matches are going to be brilliant, but which was the match of the night?
Match of the night, and with crowd heat and stuff like that, I have to say Slex and Ospreay. And that's, I'm not even taking anything away from the main event, because that was phenomenal as well. And it's maybe just a rung below it because maybe the crowd was a bit tired. Look at the match they just had to follow. And it was a differently worked match, the monster and stuff like that. Obviously, it's not as many flips and, crazy bumps. It was a bit more hard hitting. It was a well-worked match, body parts and stuff like that. But it was still amazing. So, Slex and Ospreay, for myself, live, by the smallest of margins.
I'm looking forward to it. I know they're obviously going to be two very different matches, but I can't imagine. It's much like the PWA show as well. If you get a chance to get around to watching that on pwaplay.com, Will Ospreay and Robbie Eagles is a hard one to follow, and then Caveman Ugg and Jonah Rock have to go out there and try to follow it, and it's not an easy task, but they managed to pull it off. They managed to put on a very different kind of match that was just as good in its own way.
Yeah, so that's just a testament of Jonah, what he's doing at the minute. If he, like you're saying, he's had to follow Will Ospreay basically 2 weeks in a row, and he's pulled it off. That's amazing.
Yeah, so definitely Jonah Rock's one of the best. I put him as one of the best big men in the world.
Oh, definitely.
Right, so when I talked about how, there's people that get left out of the conversation because people are too busy talking about Jonah, Robbie, and co. I'm not. That's not a knock on Jonah or Robbie, right? It's because they deserve to be talked about the way they're talked about. They're some of the best guys in the world overall. But that's the card. That's everything. Naito gets the win over Jonah Rock, and everyone goes home happy.
Everyone went home happy. Tired, happy.
Yeah.
Great night of wrestling. Really looking forward to the upcoming show, September 8th. They're doing a little bit of a Survivor Series fun team. It looks a little bit like, there might be backstage skits and gimmickry. I think it'll be fun. And obviously we've got Adam Brooks coming home. So, amazing night of wrestling. Can't talk it up enough. Obviously, everyone out there, if you can get it on Encore as soon as it drops, make sure you watch it. I think it's going to be the talk of the weekend as soon as it drops. Yeah, amazing show. From start to finish. There's no bad matches on there, and they're all different.
Yeah, definitely. And MCW, like I said, they're really good at getting these up quickly. The last one was up within 5 days. I imagine this one's going to be up before the week's end, and we'll be able to sit down and watch it over the weekend, and I'll be letting people know what I think. Thanks for joining us, Lyle, to go through what you thought of the show and the experience of being there. I'm very jealous. I wish I could have gotten to go.
Well, you didn't win Tats Lotto, mate, but hey, maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time. We'll see how it goes. I'll be down there for the Super Showdown, so we'll be able to catch up then.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot for joining us. Where can people find you, Lyle?
Hit us up on Facebook, obviously, on the Turnbuckle. You know, we've got the show that drops every Thursday with all the local talent. We've got JXT this week co-hosting while Brent is overseas gallivanting. We had Robbie Eagles on last week, which was amazing. We've got a Twitter on the Turnbuckle, @on the Turnbuckle. Instagram, same thing. We try and do a little bit of fun things during the week, some memes and stuff like that, a bit of fun, some comedy, and like Jay, he loves a poll, so we have a lot of polls there. You can vote on everything. So yeah, just Facebook's the main hub of where a lot of the other stuff other than the podcast happens. But yeah, no, really appreciate you having me on, mate.
All right, and I am at Greg Unchained on Twitter, at the Greg Unchained on Instagram. We are the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit. The B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify. We're taking over the world. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for listening.
Hold one. Arm drag. You're not doing this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon. You just made the list. Oh my God.
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two. Arm bar.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Dummy.